here now. So today I'm going to show you 10 ways of using different scales, different ways of improvising, different tools, improvising tools that you can use to spice up your playing, and so you can come up with different phrasing, different ideas, so it would never, I mean, it can sound weird at times, but it's not going to sound boring, so you're not going to die of boredom. You might die of like too much strong emotions, but you can even get kicked out of your band, but it's going to work, I guarantee you. So we're going to start with the most basic one, which is the minor pentatonic. In this video we're going to use only a D minor vamp. We're going to use this over this chord, and we're going to start out with the most basic scale, and it's the minor pentatonic, which is the go-to scale for most rock blues players. It also works pretty well in metal and also in jazz fusion, and even in Brazilian music, bossa nova. I've used it before and I didn't. Oh, it worked. It was cool. So the minor pentatonic, it uses the most basic structure. It's got a root, minor third, fourth, fifth, minor seventh, and it works well within this vamp, and it's something you can use a lot. Just watch out you don't use it too much, or else it can get a little bit boring, but we're going to talk about more weird ways of using the pentatonic. Oh, and I would also advise you to use like more, instead of using like the basic things, the basic phrasing, try to use the pentatonic, minor pentatonic scale. It's pretty rich in fourths and fifths intervals, so intervallic playing can sound pretty interesting using the pentatonic scale. The second one is also pretty basic one, which is a Dorian mode, which is the second degree of a major scale. So if we're using this D Dorian, it comes from the C major scale, so that you won't have any sharps or flats on this one. It's a D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D again. And the D Dorian scale sounds more sophisticated, sounds interesting. You have all the chord tones there. The D, F, A, and C. You get no wrong notes, no avoid notes, nothing which is going to sound weird, as opposed in other modes. In this case, I would recommend you use and try to, let's say, explore the friction you're going to have between the minor third and the major sixth, because those two form a tritone, and it can sound a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more edgy, and it's going to sound interesting over your playing, and then that can lead to very interesting sounds. So there's another tip I also forgot to mention. When you're playing over a vamp, especially in a fusion blues setting, I would recommend you not using the Phrygian mode and also the Aeolian mode. And for most people, the Aeolian mode is the go-to mode when you're playing over a minor chord. I kind of tend not to like it too much, especially since you have a minor sixth, and that can sound a little bit over dramatic over, let's say, a fusion or a blues vamp. The minor sixth, it causes a friction over the minor fifth on the chord, so it's not a very good note, and it's a kind of a void note, or something that I usually use as a passing tone. And so this is why I avoid the Aeolian mode, but also the Phrygian has a minor second, which has a very distinct sound, and I don't like it that much. It's more of a matter of taste for me in this case. can do is try to splice up Dorian mode and the blues scale. So we're gonna add a minor fifth to your Dorian mode, so it's gonna be D, E, F, G, A flat, which is the blues note, blue note, and also fifth, sixth, minor seventh, and also the roots again. So that can sound a little bit more bluesy. You're gonna have some interesting lines you can come up with that scale. It sounds bluesy, so edgy and a little more sophisticated than if you use a minor pentatonic, and you can come up with many interesting ideas as well. Okay, now we're gonna get into more extreme places, like more extreme vibes here. So the first one is what I call the minor fifth pentatonic, pentatonic from the fifth degree of the scale. So if we have a D Dorian mode, the fifth degree is gonna be the A. So what you're gonna use is the A minor pentatonic. That being said, this one sounds pretty interesting because you're going to have some intervals which are going to sound a little bit more suspended. You won't have minor thirds, so it's not as it's not as definite. It doesn't sound. It sounds a little bit outside, so it has more of a suspended feeling. So you're going to have some interesting, very interesting intervals. So you have the root, major second, fourth, fifth, minor seventh, and also the root again. So it sounds very like a suspended chord, and I think that's something you should check out. Also, you can use arpeggios. Yes, arpeggios are pretty cool over a vamp, especially since you can superimpose them over a chord. So in this case, we have to think about the arpeggios which are derived from a D Dorian. So you have the D minor seventh, you have the E minor seventh, you have the F major seventh, G seventh, A minor, and also a C major seventh. Usually I really like using all of them, but my favorite ones are of course the root, because you can fiddle around with it. You can use passing chromatic notes and they can sound pretty interesting. That said, I also really like using the minor third, the F major seventh. Why? Especially since if you superimpose this arpeggio, you're gonna have some very interesting sounds which are gonna come out of it. So you get minor third, you get fifth, you have the minor seventh, and you also have a ninth. So if you stack one in front of the other, you get D minor ninth, which sounds pretty beautiful if you use this arpeggio. Another one I really enjoy is the fifth degree, the A minor, is also because it sounds kind of suspended. So you have the fifth, minor seventh, and the ninth. So it's kind of like you're adding a ninth again. and also 11th, which is a G. So it has it has that feeling of not being so definite, a little more ambiguous, and for me it sounds great. You can also use the 4th arpeggio, which is the G7th, which sounds a little more aggressive because it has that tritone I spoke about earlier. And also the 7th arpeggio, which I really like. And the 6th, not so much, which is a half diminished arpeggio. It really combines well with the G7th. They kind of like they're related a little more. It also has a very edgy, aggressive sound. The 7th, which is a C major 7th, sounds a little bit, let's say, I feel there's too much tension within that one, and not so many chord tones, and it kind of puts me off a little bit. And the same goes for the 2nd degree, which is the E minor 7th. Too many tensions. It sounds okay, but it's not my favorite. Another approach is using chromatics and pentatonics. So this way it's a little more guitar related, guitar oriented. And what I do is, like, when I take a pentatonic shape, I put on in between the notes, the big ones, I put some chromatic passing tones. So this way it's pretty easy to navigate, so you can know where your basic notes are. And so it's a very basic approach, but if you use those chromatic notes in between, it's gonna sound more interesting, and can put some more notes, and you can go outside a little bit, and then, but you always have to remember to go back to the main chord tones, which are like the root, like the D, minor third, and fifth and seventh, minor seventh, the C. So I always have to remember to go, even if you go crazy with the chromatics, and always try to land on one of those notes, so it doesn't feel like you're making a mistake. Okay, so that's the main point. Get into the more, I think, like off the wall territory. You're gonna use some weird scales. So the first one, which I really like using, is the melodic minor scale. So in this case, we're in D melodic minor. So it's like a D, E, F, G, A, B, C sharp, much off this one, and D. So why the hell do we use that? Especially since there's only one note that differs from the Dorian mode, because in the Dorian mode all the notes are very inside. You're only gonna get this C sharp, and it sounds kind of a little bit edgy, because you're going through this, let's say, this edgy place, and sounds dissonant, and then you can go back again. So it's a scale that I quite enjoy. So it sounds a little off, but it kind of has its charm. Scale that I really like is a Phrygian 6. That's a mode from the melodic minor, especially since it's the second degree of the melodic minor, and so you get these weird notes. So it comes from the C melodic minor. So if you get a D Phrygian 6, and it's gonna be D, E flat, minor 7th, which is gonna sound a little bit dissonant. The F, minor 3rd, which sounds great. G, 4th, sounds good. The A, which is chord tone, sounds awesome. 6, which is a tension, sounds good. And the 7th. So you only have, like, you have this very weird sounding minor second, and it does give it a friction, but it sounds interesting. So it's something you definitely should check out, okay? it's a final one which I really like. It's going really bonkers with chromaticism. I tend to use chromatic passing tones in arpeggios, which is a little bit more traditional. But one thing, a trick that I really like is going, if you take like a pentatonic shape, you go backwards, forwards, backwards, and so on, and you can go outside and use that. It's gonna sound weird, it's gonna sound off the wall, but it's also gonna sound interesting. And if you ran out of ideas, try that, but always remember it. Try and always land on a chord tone, because these are important. These are your friends. So guys, I hope I gave you some insights onto how to improvise over a single chord static vamp. So these are kind of, it can get boring, so the more ideas you get, the better. I only spoke about the more theoretical improvising approach from it. You can also try using as many techniques as you like, chord melodies, arpeggios, sweep picking, tapping whatever licks you have, because these all will also spice up those. And as much as vocabulary you have, the more it's gonna work. So I hope to see you in the next video. And if you have any ideas, any things anything I skipped, just put them on the comments. Okay? See you next time.